Okay, so we're gonna be looking at Module 2, Session 2 this week. So this is our AutoCAD session for the week. So I'm gonna click on here, and these are our agenda items. We're gonna be looking at Chapter 3 in our AutoCAD textbook, okay? And we're actually going to be going over some things at first, but ultimately we're gonna be doing that gasket tutorial, which is going to be our module 2 practice problems. So we're gonna practice some things at first, and then we're gonna apply them in that tutorial, which will also give you a pretty good start on the stuff that you're going to be doing in your assignment for module 2. As we go back, you're going to notice that we have practice problems and 2 assignments here. The practice problems here are going to be uploading that gasket tutorial to the practice problems. Now, this week is a little different. Okay, you're going to notice that I want you to upload the file this week. Okay, we did screenshots or PDFs the last time, which work great for kind of that kind of thing. And we're going to go back to that at some point. But this week, right, we're going to be practicing really good construction and geometry. And what I want to do is I want to be able to zoom into your corners and look at some of the things and make sure that you're practicing those good habits. Okay. And we'll talk about reasons why we want to do that. But this module, you're going to be uploading your AutoCAD file. Okay. Not the PDF, okay? Same thing for assignment 2B. These are the end of the chapter AutoCAD assignments that you're gonna have. And I want you to do the files. And you're not gonna do these all in one file. You're gonna do all separate files. We'll talk about how you're gonna save those, but you're gonna upload to, I think, 8 files, okay? So that's what we're going to do, because again, I want to look at the construction you have. It'll take me a little longer to correct, and that's okay. I don't mind. But in these early stages of learning AutoCAD, I want to make sure that we're getting you the really good fundamentals of construction, because it's so important. Okay? Because out in the world, I don't know, in any job, some people come and go, right? And sometimes if you see, and this was something that was very common in engineering departments that I worked in, if you would see somebody's initials when you pulled up a drawing or a file, and you're like, I'm gonna have to start over because they fudged dimensions, or you just knew that it wasn't good construction. Graduates of WCTC who learn from me are not going to be those people in engineering departments. You're going to be the ones who are going to be like, yes, Roman's drawing is who I'm picking, and that kind of thing, or whoever, Chris is, Ava's. Great, then I can go from here. I don't have to redo anything. And it's a thing out in it. I'm going to tell you, it's a thing. So no, I want to make sure that you have what you need, so that again, there's a lot of really good reasons to do that. So module 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to underneath our camera, and chapter 3 is going to be in our AutoCAD book that we're going to be looking at. And it says here, geometric construction and editing tools. So up to this point, we've been very line, circle, coordinates. We did a little bit of offset. We're going to see the offset command formally in this chapter. But I want to give you some more tools, so that there isn't always one way to do any type of construction or drawing. You're going to notice that you might approach it one way, somebody else is going to approach it another way, and then there's going to be a third, fourth, and a fifth way, and even more. Okay. And sometimes you look over somebody's shoulder when they're working, you're like, oh, I didn't know you could do that. It's a very deep software that you can approach things, in all different ways. So that's why I want to make sure that you have, good fundamentals, and you know where to look, and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to be concentrating on good construction this week, and also the modify commands, so that we get things to match up and not overlap and things like that. So starting up AutoCAD, we did our startup, we're in. And the first thing that we want to do is we just want to create some geometry. Now, I'll tell you when we're not to the point where we're going to do our practice problem. That comes a little bit later in our chapter, and that's going to be when we look at the gasket tutorial. Here, we're going to just practice some things. So I would love for you to click around with me and kind of practice some of these items, that we see here. I'm not going to do each and every one in here. I'm going to do the ones that I think you're going to find the most valuable for the things that you're going to be doing, not only for the assignment, but in the industry in general. So I'm going to go over to AutoCAD here, and we're going to be looking at bisecting a line or an arc. So first of all, I'm going to add an arc. So you're going to notice up here, I have my home menu or my home ribbon activated, and I am going to go on the arc area, and I'm just going to do a random 3-point arc. And that's the one that's actually on top. As you know, when we have these little down arrows, it's going to let us know that there's more commands underneath there. Okay. But it's the one that's on the top. So the 3-point arc. And if you, and I can't emphasize this enough, if you're not sure what a command does or how to do it, follow the prompts on the command line or right by our cursor. And it says, specify the starting point of the arc. Now we have a couple ways that we can do this. The two most popular are either you're going to put in coordinates like 0, 0, you want to start there, or any other coordinates, or you can just left click right on the screen. And that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to randomly left click. Here's my first point. Doesn't look like anything much. Here's my second point. Now I'm starting to get an arc. And then here's a third point. And then once you get to that third point, it's going to end the command because it's called a 3-point arc. So it's going to create an arc through those 3 points. Okay. Now, what I want to do is I want to just connect a line at the bottom here. Okay. So I'm going to hit the line command. You're going to notice that it's going to snap to the endpoint. Okay. Going to snap to the endpoint. Now, that's because I have running object snaps on, right? I have it toggled on down here. And if I go to my down arrow, endpoint, which is probably one of the most popular, is checked. That means that AutoCAD is always looking for anything that I have checked on this list here. Okay. Now, that's good because I do want endpoint. So I'm going to go to that endpoint. I'm going to click. Now, make sure that you are clicking when it's activated. So if I'm here and I'm not, so for instance, I got a pick box there, right? And it goes green. If I go away from it for a little bit, it's going to stay green. But after I get outside of its window, it's going to go away. All right. So I have to make sure that when it's green is when I'm left clicking. Okay. Because if I click now, not on the endpoint, even though it activated earlier. So I want to make sure that I'm clicking at that time. So there's my left click. Then I'm going to go back out and I'm going to do the same thing over here, endpoint on that side, left click. Okay. Now it's going to want to keep going. I know that I can either hit enter or escape, but there's another enter key on your keyboard. I'm not sure if I mentioned this yet, but the space bar. Did you guys know that the space bar in AutoCAD is an enter key? Okay. Kind of nice. That was one that I use on a lot. That was something I use. That's been there forever. So the space bar, enter, or escape will all do the same thing. Okay. Now, something else I want to mention is before I start doing anything else, I always want to make sure that my previous command is exhausted, meaning I'm done with the previous command. I have nothing going on, and then I can start the next one. And an example of this would be, let's say I have the line command going and I'm done with my line. Now, AutoCAD wants me to keep going, right? And something that students tend to do is instead of ending this command, hitting escape or enter to end it, you'll notice I have stuff around my cursor and on the endpoint. They just go right up into, okay, now I'm going to do a circle and now I'm going to create a circle and that kind of thing. Now, sometimes it'll work, but then there'll be other times it's going to act a little wonky because it's going to be kind of confused. So a good habit to get into is always fully end a command before you start another one. Okay. So I'm going to, and as you know, if I do something, there's a couple things I can do. This is another thing that I'm going to show you. If I want to delete this, okay. AutoCAD's traditional way of inputting commands is to let AutoCAD know what you want to do and then do it. Sometimes we might, for instance, try to put a window around something, and you're going to notice you get these blue dots, right? These are called grips, okay? And then you might hit the delete key on your keyboard. That does work, okay? That does work. And sometimes going fast, but if you want to make sure that you're getting the erase command properly, you want to go up to the erase, and then you want to select the items, okay? You can either individually select them. If you want to get the rectangular or square pick box, it's a click. It is not a click, drag, and release, okay? Other softwares, and that I do it sometimes because in like SolidWorks, it's a click, drag, release, okay? But in here, it's a click, and then you get the box. Now, when you're going from top to bottom, as we saw last time, when you select, everything has to be in its entirety in the box to get selected. If only a portion is in there, it's not going to be part of the selection, okay? Now, I'm going to hit escape here. If you do a click and drag, you probably have noted this business, right? And it's like, oh, the heck, okay? Because it's very common to do that. I don't find I can control that, and that's why I do the click click, okay? The full window. So that's what's going on. So you'll get some things with that click and drag thing, but they have to be all the way in there. And I just find it's hard to control. All right. So if you like it and you like doing that, that's fine. The other direction you can go in is you can start in the lower right-hand corner, and you're going to notice that your box has a dotted line around it this time as I'm going. In this direction, anything that is partially in the box is going to be selected, okay? So notice that only part of my circle is in right now, and it's selected to be deleted, okay? Only a part of that line is in, and it's selected to be deleted, all right? So yeah, so that's just another way. So upper right, if you start in the upper left down to the lower right, that's going to be everything fully has to be in that box. If you start in the lower right and go up in the opposite direction, then just partials. So just some things to be aware of. All right, oopsie. Okay. The next thing, let's create a line. Okay, let's create a line here. So I'm going to create a line, and I'm just going to go randomly kind of on the top of my arc, but I want to make it perpendicular to the line that I have connecting the two edges of my arc. Okay. So to do that, I could go into my running object snaps and activate perpendicularity or perpendicular, okay? But remember, my running object snaps are for things that I do on a regular basis. And if I don't want that on there, I don't have to. So I have another choice. I can go up to my object snaps toolbar, and I can find the perpendicular object snaps, okay? So I can click that. There's a third way that I think is more efficient and the one that I rely on more often, and that is the shift hold right mouse button, and notice you have all of your object snaps right here too, okay? That's the way I tend to do it because it allows me to not have to go up and down on the screen. I can do it right where I'm at, okay? So shift right mouse button, and I'm gonna do perpendicularity. This does the same thing that our toolbar does, meaning it overrides anything that's in the running object snap. So it's not going to look now for endpoints or circular or centers or anything like that. It's only going to focus on perpendicularity. And when you get close to a line that it can become perpendicular to, notice that it puts that little sign. And then if you left click, it's going to snap to being perpendicular, even if your line isn't perfectly perpendicular. Does that make sense? Okay. So I've got this line here. That's all that I want. I'm just going to hit escape. Now, if you need to move things around on the screen, let's remind ourselves of that. If I use my middle mouse button, the roller, I push down and I move it. This is the pan. Okay. So that can get you kind of back in the center. You're going to notice up here on our zooming, you have zoom extents all the way over to the right, okay? If I do zoom extents, it brings everything, like it fills the screen. Sometimes that's a little big, okay? Like for mine, I can see my command line is kind of covering up. So if you roller like one index point towards yourself, it's going to then like just zoom out just a little bit and kind of get everything centered for you. Does that make sense? Okay. The other thing you can use that roller for, wherever you place your cursor, it's going to center zoom on that. So if you want to get closer and you want to roll away from yourself, kind of increment, you can get closer and closer and closer to things, okay? Which brings me to one more point. What I'm going to do when I pull up your files that you're going to send me, I am going to go to a corner here, okay? And I'm going to go into the corner, and I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to make sure that this stays together. That will tell me that you used object snaps, okay? If you, for instance, and I'm gonna delete this. Shift, I'm gonna pull this over. I'm gonna delete this line here. You don't have to delete yours if you have it. But let's say I turn off my object snaps. I'm not gonna have them on, and I'm gonna draw a line, and I'm gonna get, oh, that looks nice and close right there. And that looks nice and close right there. Okay. From this point of view, it does look good. It does look good. But if I zoom in, it doesn't take me long, and I know that they're not attached. Now, can anybody think of an example when that is bad business? Anyone? Programming. So what I'm assuming is you're thinking down the line, somebody's going to use this profile and they maybe want to create a path, right? Using it. Like a lot of times we export a DXF, okay? And like a laser cutter, or like you said, a programming Mastercam will want to use that profile. And if it doesn't have a continuous line, it doesn't like it. It'll actually error out and say, oh, this is a problem. Okay. So either you have to redo it, or the person who is, doing the operation or the programming of it has to do it. Okay. So that's why it's always better to have really good geometry from the start. Okay. So using your object snaps becomes really, really important. I'm going to turn those back on. And that's why running object snaps, then you don't really have to think about a lot. They'll just automatically happen. And so really for not only you and not being that person, okay, that everybody's like, oh boy, now I got so-and-so's, drawings to deal with. I might as well start over, but it's really for down the line. These files are used in more than one place. It's not just a picture we're creating. It's actual geometry. It's actual digital data that can be used then down the line. Okay. So that's why it's really important. And again, that's why I want to look at your files so that I'm seeing that you're doing these really important things. Okay. This is the practice that I want us to have. All right. So that's our first line. Now, let's say I want to move this line. I don't want it there. I want it to be on maybe the end of our line. So the move command, you're going to notice in our ribbon here, there is a modify area, and we'll see this like up and down, left and right arrows, and this is our move command. So what it's going to do is it's going to move an entity or a feature that we've created. So I'm going to click on that, and you're going to notice that my object or my command line says select the object. So I'm just going to select my line, but I could continue to select additional objects in order to, move. So once I have that selected, I'm just going to hit enter. And it's going to say specify your base point. Your base point is going to be where I'm going from, where it's at. So the logical base point is going to be right here at the end point of that line. Now you're going to notice that that line is on the end of my cursor. And it's asking in our command line, specify the second point. Okay. So I'm going to go over to the end here, and you're going to notice that it's going to grab the end point, and I'm going to just put it on the end point right there. Now, when I move something, it does not leave a copy behind. I'm literally moving that to another spot. Let's say I want to put the same line, same length, everything, but now I want to copy it to the other side. Okay. We have a copy command. So you're going to notice right below move, there is a copy command. So again, if you just kind of hover over it, it gives you, what it is, and then it gives you some information. But if I click on it again, it's going to tell me select the objects you want to copy. So I'm going to click on that line. I can continue to click if I needed more. I'm going to hit enter. My base position is going to be at the base of that current one, but now look at it, left that original one behind. And now I've got the new one on my cursor, and I'm now going to go to the endpoint on the other side, and I could continue. Notice I'm still have it, and I could continue to, make more copies, but this is what I wanted. I'm just going to hit enter or escape, and I'm going to end that command. So copy and move. Okay. So move is just where I'm going to move the item. Copy is where I can then, leave a copy behind, and I can, go to a new spot and have another item. Okay. Snap to endpoint. Snap to midpoint. That one does come in handy once in a while. You can add that. You're going to notice midpoint is right underneath endpoint on your running object snaps. It's not uncommon to use that, but midpoint, all that does is if I have an existing line, I'm going to snap to the midpoint. So for instance, if I start the line command and I just I'm just going to go from the bottom, and I'm going to say, okay, I want to go to the midpoint. So I'm going to, where's midpoint up here? Oh, it's right here. It's just, I think it's the fourth one in, snap to midpoint. You can click that, and then it's going to have a triangle. So when it gets to the midpoint, you're going to notice that it's going to snap to it. And then that's going to be like the middle of. That's not an uncommon one, but I don't have that one as my running object snaps. remember, running object snaps are a personal preference, and it's all going to depend on what you're working on, currently, and what are the things that you find yourself going back to. Okay. We're going to skip over bisecting an angle and transferring our angle. They're just not all that popular. And again, you're not going to really use it for what we're going to be doing in the immediate future. So we're going to bypass that one. One that can come in handy, and not necessarily for our assignment coming up, but this one I think is important because a lot of times we have items that we want to evenly space along something. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a line, and I'm just going to pan over a little bit. I'm just going to create a random length of a line, okay? And let's say I want that line to be divided into 5 equal parts, okay? So I want to divide that line. So there is a command under, hold on. It's under draw. Yeah, it is under draw. I wasn't sure if it was under draw or modify. So you're going to notice in the draw part, there's a little down arrow, and the second one in the top row from the right-hand side is the divide command, okay? And basically what it says here is it creates evenly spaced points along that line. So I'm going to click on divide, and it's going to say, select the object you want to divide, okay? So I'm going to click on that, and then it's going to say, enter the number of segments that we want. This could be 2 segments. It could be 4 segments. I'm going to say 5 segments, 5. Enter. And now you're going to notice it doesn't look like anything happened, okay? What it's done, if I look at my line here, it's still one continuous line. We don't see them, but it's put points, 5 points along, or 4 points along that to divide it into 5 segments, okay? But we don't see them. So we're going to go up to Format on our menu bar. We're going to go down to Point Style. We're going to click on that, and now we're going to get a box. Currently, the points shown on the screen would be this tiny little dot right there where it's darkened in. We want to pick something else that's bigger. I'm going to pick this one right here. You can pick any one of them, honestly. And that's going to now be something that we can see. So now I'm going to hit OK. And now you're going to notice that it highlights those points along there so that you can actually see where they're at. Okay. All right. Then what you can do is you can, for instance, I'm going to say a line. I'm going to just start randomly out here. And I want to put my endpoint on one of those points. Okay. To do that, I'm going to do my shift right mouse button. Okay. And something in AutoCAD, and I wish it would be consistent, but it's not. There's 2 words for the same thing, a point, or it can be called a node. All right. They use the terminology. So earlier it was point style. Here we see it as an object snaps for a node. That is a point, okay? So we're going to click on node, and then you're going to notice that it's going to snap to the closest node that it sees there, and then escape to end that command. And then you can do another, line, and then again, it's not on my running object snap, so I have to do shift right mouse button, node, so that it overrides that, and so on, okay? Now, if you're picking a lot of nodes, you could set your running object snaps to just nodes and nothing else. Okay, so you can customize that and toggle them on and off. So so the divide command, and then the point style is kind of nice. The next one here, I want to show you. I'm going to shift over here. We're going to make a circle through circle through 3 points. So we're going to first create a line, and I'm just going to kind of draw a line, 2 lines just like that, and I'm going to end my command, okay? And we are going to make a circle, but instead of circle radius, we're going to do a 3-point circle, okay? 3-point circle. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to grab that endpoint, that crest, and then the other endpoint, okay? Now, once we have this here, what we can do is we can create another circle, tangent, tangent to this radius to put, or tangent, tangent, and then put a radius in to like round off that inner corner there, okay? I think we used this the last time in module 1. I think we used this. So we're going to go to circle, tangent, tangent, radius. Okay, tangent, tangent, radius. So I'm going to click on that. Now, because we're in tangent, tangent, radius, it's going to automatically override any object snaps that you have. And when I get close to a line, notice that the tangent symbol activates. Okay, so I'm going to click that and nothing really happens until I get to the second one. And then you're going to notice it's going to say on my screen, specify the radius of the circle. So I don't know, we're going to say, I don't know, 2. There we go. Okay. If we do too small, it's going to be really tiny. And I'm like, where am I at on my thing? So I did 2 as my radius. Now what I can do is if I want to round that corner, I can trim away the items here that I don't want. Okay. So tangent, tangent, radius. And then I'm going to go up to my little scissors, my trim, and I'm going to, remember, you click on the parts that you don't want. So I'm going to click on this little part here, here, and then the part of the circle that I don't need. And now what it's done is it's rounded off that corner. Okay, I'm going to hit escape. So it's created a round. Okay, and notice that I had to do tangent, tangent, radius, and I had to do some trimming. There's a shortcut command for exactly that. All right, it's called the fillet, and I think we might have used it the last time, but I really didn't explain it. But there's 2 ways you can do it. And the fillet command is actually a shortcut. So what you can do is I'm going to do an undo. So I get another undo and another undo so that I just have my 2 peaks here, right? And let's say I just want to put a 2-inch radius between those 2. The fillet command right below the trim is what I can use. So I'm going to go click on the fillet command. Now, this one's important that you look at your command line. Right now, you could start selecting objects, and the objects are going to be the 2 lines that come together that intersect. But you need to first set your radius. When you go into AutoCAD, you're going to notice that you have the option to put these items down here. You have a blue letter at the start of each one of these words: undo, polyline, radius, trim, and multiple. Okay, we want to hit R for radius. Okay, so you're going to put R, enter, and it's going to give us the radius that it's the radius that it is defaulted to. You'll notice that it says 0. What that means is it makes a sharp corner. So sometimes, let's say you have two lines that aren't meeting one another and you want a sharp corner between them, you could do a radius 0 fillet, and it's going to bring them together nicely and trim them off. But I want a radius here. I want a radius of 2. Okay, so I'm going to put 2 and then enter. Okay, now my radius is set at 2, and I'm going to select the first line, select the second line, and you can see now with 2 clicks, it created the radius or the fillet for me, and it trimmed everything off, so I don't have to worry about it. Okay, so that's a really handy one that we're going to see that we use a lot. When we have it as an internal corner, we call it a fillet. When we have it as an outside round on the outside of something, it's called a round, but we use the fillet command for both. Okay. All right. So that's a nice little shortcut. Another one, and we have, I think, exercised this one as well, is a lot of times we want lines to be tangent to circles. Never, never, never put a line in place. Now, I don't have tangent on here. Oh, it's hovering to the center. So again, annoying. I'm just going to turn it off for a second. If you go close to an edge here, you're like, okay, I'm going to create this line, and it looks like it's nice and tangent. Again, if I zoom in, it's like over the top, and it's really not tangent. There's spaces there. It might look good from a distance, but when we really look up close to what's going on geometry-wise, it's not. So in order to do that, we want to activate our tangent object snaps. So again, shift right mouse button, the toolbar, or the running object snaps. And I'm going to grab tangent here, and I'm going to activate it. And now when I zoom in, and again, these are things I'm going to be doing when I look at it, I'm going to see, is it coming together? It is, and it's not overlapping, then I know you used your object snaps. Okay. And again, really important, especially when these files are being used downstream for other applications, so that there's no errors and such. We did tangent, radius. All right, so now we are ready for the gasket design. So before we do the gasket, I'm going to get rid of everything on my screen, and I'm just going to kind of zoom out a little bit with my roller, and I'm maybe gonna, you know, pan a little bit, or you can do a zoom extents. And then right in the middle here, you can roller towards yourself a couple times to kind of get it smaller. I'm gonna hit escape. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use the erase command, left click, right click, and then enter to get rid of everything. This tutorial is in inches, so we already started in imperial, so we should be good. Now, what you're going to want to do is this little XY here, this is going to be like your 0, 0 on your screen. Try to get it kind of here-ish on your screen, okay? Because we're going to be starting at that 0, 0 just to make things a little bit easier for inputting when we go around the perimeter of our gasket. So I'm going to go underneath my screen here. And you're going to notice that on page 321, this is the gasket design. Now, this is going to be the part of what we're doing tonight that is going to be what you're going to be handing in for the practice problems. The stuff that we just kind of practiced and played around with, you don't have to hand any of that in. Just this gasket design, okay? So we are going to be creating this, okay? Now, a gasket is going to be used to kind of sandwich between two parts in order to hold in whatever is on the inside or keep out whatever's on the outside. Sometimes it might be to keep dirt out. Sometimes it might be to keep liquids in, okay? But they can be made out of rubber, cork, you know, different types of material, okay? So, so this gasket is usually going to take the profile of whatever it's going to be sandwiched between. So we don't really know the application here, but this is what our gasket is going to look like. Now, there's a couple things here that we're going to be exercising. Number one, you can see we're going to be using some fillets. We're going to be using some tangent and object snaps and then endpoints, obviously. We're going to use the offset command, but we're also going to use the polyline command. And this is what I'm going to check on your files. The polyline command we're going to see is unique, and it kind of gives us a shortcut to doing the offset command. So we're going to start by creating the profile around the very outside first. We are then going to create a polyline with that. That means it's going to join it all together so it's one entity rather than separate lines and radiuses. And then we're going to offset in one offset command. If we don't do the polyline by joining it all together, we would have to offset however many entities that we have here, and then we're going to have to do some trimming and extending on the end. So polyline is perfect for a gasket, but there's a lot of other applications we can use it for as well. So this is a great example of how to use that, how to set it up, and get the command going so that it can save you a lot of time and energy. And I'm going to be looking on your practice problem. Remember, it's 0 or 10. If you don't do the polyline and you just kind of say, oh, I'm just going to do this, and when I hover over it, I'm going to be able to tell right away, did you use polyline or not? Okay. And if you didn't, it's a 0. If you did, it's a 10. Okay. So, so let's see how this works. So I'm going to be starting in this corner right here. And the reason I'm starting there is as we look at the dimensions, you're going to notice that pretty much everything is coming from that upper left-hand corner. Okay. So I'm going to set this as my 0, 0. And then we're going to create a horizontal line going to the right. And then we're going to start back and we're going to create this profile going down to here. Then we're going to put the circle in place, the tangent line up, and then we're going to add our radiuses or our fillets to where they're at. Once we have those in place, the outside profile all set, we're going to create the polyline and then do the offset. Okay. So what you get to look forward to. I'm going to go back to AutoCAD here. Like I said, I'm going to put my 0, 0 about here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start with the line command. So I'm going to go up to the upper left-hand corner, click on line, and it's asking me on my command line, where do you want to start? You cannot go here close to that 0, 0. It is not going to snap to it, okay? You have to enter 0, 0. So let's just enter 0, 0, 0, 0, enter. And now I know that I'm at 0. And the reason I want to do this is I have all those coordinates that are easily inputable, you know, from what we have here. So I am going to make sure that my dynamic input is on, and I also want to activate the ortho command. Ortho command means that it's only going to allow me to draw lines that are horizontal and vertical. That's it, not at any angles. And that's a nice feature to have so that you don't get off a little bit, especially when you want things to be 90-degree angles, horizontal or vertical. You can toggle that on and off, okay? I can't toggle it right now because I'm joined with another monitor and it's gonna kind of do something else. But if you click on and off the F8 key, go ahead and do that. F8 turns ortho on and off. And if you look at the bottom there where the ortho command is, you're gonna see it toggle on and off. You can also manually toggle it on or off, okay? So you can kind of see the difference of that. But we're going to use the ortho command. Now, we are just going to draw a random line going to the right, and I just want it to be about 4 inches long. So I'm going to push my cursor to the right so that my line is horizontal. I'm not going to click. I'm just going to put in 4 and then enter, okay? And then now you're going to notice that it makes a 4-inch long line. Now mine is really small because I'm zoomed in and out from what the work I was doing earlier, and that's okay. I'm just going to hit escape to end that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in so I can see my 4-inch line. Okay, so right about like that. If you need to pan or do zoom extents and then kind of zoom out, that's okay too. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to restart my line command, and now I'm going to work down and to the right. So now that I have an endpoint here, I got to turn my object snaps back on, toggle it back on. Now that I have an endpoint there that's starting at 0, 0, it will activate to technically the 0, 0 because it's got the endpoint of that line there. So now I can make sure that I'm at my object snap endpoint, and I'm going to left click, and I know that it activated up there. Now, if I look back at my drawing, okay, you're going to notice that I'm going to take this line and go straight down. It is 2 inches long. Okay, so I'm going to push down, and I'm going to put 2, enter, and it makes it 2 inches long. Then I'm going to just push my cursor, not clicking. I'm going to push my cursor to the right. And if I look underneath, this dimension is 1 inch. I'm squaring that corner right now. We'll add fillets after we're done. Go to the right, 1, enter. Then I'm going to go down. I'm going to go back to my thing. Now here I don't have a direct dimension from here to the bottom, but I know from where I started down was 4.5, and I used 2 of that. So that means that there's 2.5 left, right? So that I'm going to go back, I'm going to go down, and I'm going to put 2.5, enter, okay? If you have to zoom out and pan, you can do that by just pushing on your roller in or out, and then you can, pan with your middle mouse button, all right? Now I'm going to push over to the right, go back over here. You're going to notice from that 0, 0, it's 7 inches to where the next line starts, but I lost an inch right here, right? So I'm coming down and making this square corner. That distance is going to be 6. So I'm going to go to the right, 6, enter, and that's as far as I want to go. I cannot go up and to the right here because I don't have the circle in place yet, all right? So I'm just going to hit escape or enter to end that command. I'm also going to turn off ortho at this point because I don't need it anymore, okay? All right, I'm going to pan down just a little bit. Now I'm going to put my circle over here. So I'm going to go to circle radius or center radius. And if you look, you'll notice that the center radius, the radius is called out 1.5, okay? So why not just use a circle center radius? And you're also going to notice that from 0 in line, the center is simply 7.5 inches over to the right. So the coordinates from absolute 0 are going to be 7.5, comma 0, right? So go back over here, and I'm going to do my circle radius, and it's going to say specify your center point, okay? And this is why sometimes, and you don't have to because we can always do the from command if we need to, and we used that last week. But this is why sometimes the 0, 0 at a point on your part sometimes comes in handy, all right? But sometimes it doesn't even really matter. So I'm going to say 7.5, comma 0, okay? Because it's 7.5 to the right, and it's 0 because I'm not going up or down. So now I've got my center set, and then it's asking me for my radius, 1.5, enter, and there is that outside profile, okay? Now, you're going to notice that I can put my line in place. I'm going to start it at the bottom right-hand corner here. So I'm going to do the line command. I'm going to click that endpoint, make sure the snap is on. If not, toggle it on or do shift right mouse button to do endpoint. And then you're going to notice that when I get close to that circle, I have tangent running snaps on. If you don't, shift right mouse button and do, where's tangent? Tangent is right here. Or you can go up to the top here and kind of right in the middle of that object snaps, there's the tangent, okay? And then when you get close, it'll snap to tangent. Make sure you do that. Again, those are the points that I'm going to be checking you on, okay? All right. All right, escape or enter to end that. Now I want to extend this line to my circle, right? So it intersects it. So remember, we've been using trim. And if you'll notice there's an arrow underneath here. Trim and extend go together, okay? Trim is when I want to get rid of something that's overlapping. Extend is when I'm kind of short and I want to extend to the next object. So I'm going to click extend. And what you're going to do is you're going to just hover over that line we want to extend, and it's going to give us a preview of where it's going to go to. And standard is that it's going to go to the next item it's going to touch. Okay. So I'm going to left click. Now, if I wanted it to go further, you don't want to do this. I can go over it again and it's going to go to the next one and the next one and the next one. So it's kind of a nice little quick little command. So I'm done with what it's going to be here. So I can hit escape or enter. And then I need to trim away the inside portion of that circle, right? That I don't need. So I'm going to arrow down on extend and I'm going to go back to trim. And now I'm going to click on the portion of that circle that I don't want. Okay. And then I can hit enter or escape. Okay. So you should have this profile at this point. Does everybody have that? Okay. All right. Now, I always say, it's a good time to save when you don't want to redo what you already did. So go ahead and do a quick save. So go to File, Save As, and this is going to be called Gasket Design. And you want to navigate to where you have your files. So I am in Tech Drafting, right? And I'm just going to say Gasket Design. And I'm going to do one because I already did that one already. Okay. And then enter. And just kind of know so that you can go back and reference that because you're going to be uploading this file. Okay. All right. Now that I have these in place, I really have the whole profile and all I need to do is add the fillets. Okay. So we're going to use the fillet command to put in the 1-inch radius, the 1/4-inch radius, and the 3/4-inch radius on the outside. So let's go back to AutoCAD. The fillet command is right below the trim. I'm going to click on the fillet command. And remember, the first thing I need to do, it's going to say start clicking on stuff, but I have to set the radius. The last radius that I used, I think, was 2, right? Okay, whatever we did on this session. So I'm going to hit R, enter. And then I don't want it to be 2. I want it to be 1, enter. Okay. And then now the next fillet is going to be 1. So I'm going to click on the first one, and then the circle, and you're going to notice it gives me a preview. And as long as that looks good, you're good to go. Okay. I'll do it again. I'm going to do an undo here. I'm going to do the fillet command, R, enter, make sure it's 1. Change it to 1 if you need to. R, enter, and then 1. So R means I want to specify the radius. The other thing you can do in that command line too, now that I'm thinking of it, if I go to fillet, you can go down here and do you see how I can actually select radius with my cursor? You could do that as well. You can pick it down here. That's right. You can do that too. Or you can do R, enter. That's what I've always done, but you can actually pick it there too. And then 1, it remembers, but if you have to change it, you will. And you just hit enter. And now it's in the mode of, I'm going to left click on the 2 items between, or on the other side, on the 2 sides of where I want my fillet to be between. So that's the first one. Now, I just did the fillet command. I hit enter. I'm out of it. If you hit enter again, it redoes the last command. You don't have to go back and pick up. So if I hit enter right now, go down to the command line, it says fillet. Okay. Now I need a new radius. So I'm going to go R, enter. This time it needs to be, I'm going to do the 0.25, enter. And then I'm going to click, left click the first one and the second one. And then I'm going to hit enter again, back into the fillet command. And this last one is R, enter, or click on radius. This one's going to be 0.75, enter. And then you're going to click and click. And that's the last one. And notice that you're out of the command. And I know I'm out of the command because there's nothing by my cursor and there's nothing in the command line. Okay. Good time to do a save again, because now I've got it in its final form, and I can just do save because I've got Gasket Design as my file name. Okay. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we want to offset to the inside. Now, don't do what I'm going to do now, but I want to show you if we don't use the polyline, what the offset command does. And the offset command is great, all right? It does a lot of good stuff. Now, when I click the offset command, which is 2 down below our eraser, okay, it's going to ask me specify the offset distance. On this gasket, it's saying the thickness here is 0.5 typical. That means that all the way around, it's that same distance. If it's different in other portions, you're going to want to read the drawing to see if it's there. But in this case, it's the same 0.5 distance all the way around. That's what typical means, TYP. Back over here. So I'm going to offset then each individual line. Don't do this. Just watch what I'm going to do. So I'm going to do 0.5, enter. And now I'm going to select the line and I'm going to position, I'm going to like push down, and I can go left, I can go above or below by just pushing my cursor, and I'm going to go down below. Okay. Then I'm going to go to this one, same distance. I'm going to go to the right. I'm going to go up. I'm going to do my radius. I'm going to go in here. Now, I'm not going to go all the way around, but I've done like 8 clicks already. Okay. And I have to go back and I have to trim away this stuff. Okay. So I've got to go, oh, trim. Not a huge deal, but it's extra clicks. Okay. So I'm going to undo that. What we're going to do is let's do it in 1 click. Okay. But before I can do it in 1 click, I need to make this a polyline. I need to make this all one contour going all the way around. Okay. So to do that, not that I have to remember, I just want to make sure that I don't. So up on the top here, we're going to go to the modify. No, we're not. We're not going to go up there. We're going to go modify here. Sorry. Modify here, down here. So modify at the bottom of our modify portion on our ribbon. We're going to arrow down. And you're going to notice that there's a little pencil and it's on a line that makes kind of a backwards C. Okay. And it says when you hover over it, edit polyline. That's what we're going to do. Okay. Edit polyline. So we're going to click on that. Now, what we're going to do now is it says select the polyline. And all we want to do is we just want to select one of the items on that polyline. All right. And it asks us a question. Do you want to turn it into 1? Yes. We want to turn this whole profile into 1. Yes. And now what we're going to do is we're going to click on join. Do you see how there's that flyout menu that came up to join? I'll do it again if we need to. Don't worry. Join. And now I'm going to put a window. You could singly select all the items around the perimeter, but I can select them all at once if I put the window. Remember, click, click, not a click and drag. So I'm going to left click in the upper left, left click in the lower right. And now you're going to notice you have everything selected. Okay. And it's going to tell you, you have 10 things that are found. Okay. And that's everything. Now we're just going to hit enter and we're done with the command. So we can hit enter one more time. Okay. Now, if you just hover over that line, does the whole thing light up? That means it's one entity. Okay. Now, for those who maybe just need, I'm going to do an undo. If it didn't quite work for you, that's okay. Let me do it one more time. We're going to go to modify, edit polyline. We're going to select just one item here. Bless you. We're going to say, yes, I want to turn it into 1. I want to join. And then I'm going to select all my items by upper left-hand corner, lower right window, enter. It's done. So we just hit enter again. Okay. You don't have to answer any of those questions or pick on anything. And when I hover over, you're going to notice it's one entity rather than separate entities. Now I can do my offset in one fell swoop. So I'm going to click on my offset. I want it to be 0.5 offset, enter. I'm going to left click on any part of that polyline. It selects it all. Okay. And now the only thing that you have to do is you have to just move your cursor so it's to the inside of that polyline. And then you're going to hit enter. Oh, I have to left click. I'm so sorry. Sorry. 0.5. Do it one more time. Click that and then left click. on the inside. Don't hit enter. Left click once it's where you want it to be. And then you can hit escape or enter to get out. Okay. So much nicer than having to do all the separate offsets and the trims. Now you'll end up with truly the same thing in the end, but there's another reason why we would want to use the polyline. If we know, for instance, that we're going to be sending this to a laser cutter and it's going to be using the path of the geometry that I created. If I don't have everything properly joined at the corners or I don't have any overlaps, if I do the polyline command, it's going to give me an error. It's going to say, I can't do this. Okay. And that's a really good check that if you want to use it later on for a profile, that everything geometry is solid. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. So, so that's also another really good reason to polyline something if you know you're going to be using that path. Okay. So I think that takes us to the end. So what we want to do is we want to do one more save. Make sure you know where you're going to be saving to so that you can recall this file. Again, this is going to be what we're going to be uploading to the practice problems. Okay. And I think that's it. Yes. Question. Oh, did I not fill it that? Thank you, Dominic. Did I forget it?
Oh, it's only on the inside.
It's only on the inside. Is that right? Let me see. Okay, back to the beginning. Sorry. Oh, there is a radius we forgot, huh? There is. Now, we are going to, let me do this first because I forget if I can do this now or not. So yes, we have that one more fillet. It's going to let me. Okay, awesome. So I want this radius. It looks like it's 0.5, right? 0.5. And then I have to go here, and it's going to let me do it. I was just a little concerned that it would be like, yeah, you can't do that on a polyline, but it'll let me. Good, 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 good. So just add that one last radius. Thank you, Dominic. He's not here now, but thank you for calling that to our attention. And now do a save when it's actually all done and complete. Otherwise, your teacher might have, marked that wrong. You're on a 0 out of 10 on your practice problems. Okay, so just as a really quick, as long as we're here and we're talking about practice problems. So if we go back to module 2, you're going to upload the file. You want to make sure that you save it, you close the file, and then you can select it to upload. Otherwise, it's going to give you an error like, you have it open somewhere, I think, and that kind of thing. So make sure you upload the file to the assignment. And then I'll pull it up, and then something that I'm going to check is going to be, is it, a polyline? And all I got to do is hover over each one and I'll know right away if it's a polyline or not. All right. And that's what I'm going to be checking for. Okay. So that takes care of the items that we're going to be looking out of the book. So the next thing is we're going to be doing an overview of the assignment. But before that, I'm going to stop the recording here, and then we're going to take a break. And then when we come back, we'll start looking at the assignment.